This is Matt for Boxing Social in association with William Hill and Empire Fight Store. Delighted as always to be joined by Jamie Conlan. Jamie, first off, before we start, how's things? All good at your end?
All good, mate. All good. Can't complain. Enjoying the good weather we have.
Yeah, it makes a change, doesn't it? It's just started absolutely smashing it down with rain the past day and a half over here after unbelievable weather. So a bit good, to be honest, but back to normal.
Gardening is good. The missus complain about the garden, the plants and all, so it's getting all the water and it's needed.
Yeah, exactly. Well, look, we didn't get a chance to catch up after Michael's fight. Obviously, it was not a great moment for him and you and everybody obviously involved with the show. Let's just talk about that. Let's just have a quick sort of reaction to what happened on that night. It seemed that his preparation from when I was speaking to him had gone excellent. He was focused during the week, but Luis Alberto Lopez was the better man on the night. What do you make of it?
I thought he was very, very good, Luis Alberto Lopez. It was undeniable that even in the lead up that he was dangerous. Stylistically, he was always going to be very hard, but I was confident in the preparation and confident in what Michael was doing in sparring and how he was handling things and how he was preparing. He just fought the wrong fight. Simple as that. When you simplify it right down, he fought the wrong fight. He fought Luis Alberto's fight. I don't think he was engaged into the fight. I think he just chose the wrong tactics and just walked straight into the hornet's nest and what played into the hands of Luis, and that's something he's got to learn. It's something he's got to take back. It's the first time properly. I think he's really went, fuck that guy. He beat me on the night. Whereas with Leigh Wood, he was always kind of he was winning the fight and he got caught in the end. But this one, he just the better man won on the night.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw how he came out because I think the general consensus was that one of Michael's great attributes is the fact that he's very fit. He can use his legs well. He's got great footwork, and if he puts the tactics in place to move around the ring and maybe counter punch, that it could have been his night. And speaking to him after, I was surprised when I saw the performance, and he said, "Look," he says that everyone sort of was slagging off Adam Booth in the aftermath. He goes, "Had nothing to do with Adam Booth. I just didn't listen to what I was being told." Were you surprised? And what do you think the reason was? Because he couldn't put his finger on it when we've been speaking. And you think he mentioned about the pressure he put on himself before in the fight week. That's not taking anything away from Lopez, because he must be a nightmare to prepare for. He throws shots almost from the back of the room, but he does it in a way which there's a method to it. Like, it's not just a random throw, but he's a very awkward customer. What do you make of it, and why was it not him like that we all think we know?
We haven't truly sat down and had a proper debrief. Picked his brain on really why he made the decisions that he made, what the feelings was prior. But I've been poking and probing, getting some things out of him, getting kind of just where his head was at that moment in time, what he felt, and pressure and atmosphere could happen to anyone. I spoke to Pete Taylor about Katie and her performance, and kind of really they are speaking the same kind of tone and same kind of thoughts, and it's hard. It really is hard to kind of put a real thumb on it and finger on it. It's just one of those things. Sometimes you just don't turn up, and I think he didn't turn up. I knew from the first 10 seconds that the result was written on the wall. Because of what he's preparing, hard to prepare, especially for the first 6 rounds with the legs, the movement, the distance, controlling the distance. And if he was able to control the distance for 6 rounds, I thought the later the fight goes, that's when you start to put it on Lopez and start to stay a bit more in the pocket. But he walked into Lopez and tried to push Lopez back, which led me to believe something in him is told him to do that, because it was not what they prepared for 12 weeks. And yeah, we will have a debrief. We will sit down together and kind of as a team figure out why and what the feelings was and the thoughts was going in. But I genuinely think from a boxer's perspective, he just had an off night and it just wasn't there.
And off nights can happen. I think we see a lot of times fans, and this is something that I think we all need to reiterate. I think this year we're starting to see more of these big fights getting made, which means ultimately someone has to lose, whether it's someone
Yeah.
you want to win or not. And that's part of boxing, and we shouldn't be critical of people taking these fights and things like that because ultimately that's what you want to see, the best fight in the best. That's what boxing should be. What does he do from here? Because obviously it was a bit raw after the fight. We were all in the dressing room. I wasn't interested in getting an interview from him because, you know what the mood was like. It wasn't. We would not have got a true reflection. It would have been off raw emotion after suffering, that in front of his home, his home city kind of thing. Like, the reaction I got a few days after was more of a considered approach. It was, I'm going to take time over my decision because he don't think he could fully sort of grasp why he didn't do what he was supposed to do in there. And that must be really sort of hard mentally to contemplate when you've got seemingly all the ability in the world kind of thing. Would you like to see him do from here? What would you like to see him do?
A proper reassessment of everything, and kind of, like, as I say, we still haven't had a debrief, but we want a real debrief through all aspects of the training and just kind of pick through the bones of what we're going to do going forward. He's adamant to keep fighting, and I truly believe. And his question to me was on Monday or Sunday. Him and his family come up and I made dinner and we sat out the back and we sat in the sun for a while and we kind of just like didn't really want to talk about it. But then you start to talk about it. He booked in for a marathon just there to kind of take his mind off it. Yeah. Berlin, I think it was, and Venice half marathon, something like that. He'd booked in 2 marathons, and he just said, "I just need kind of to focus on something else for now." And obviously, the beer, Le Gras was kicking off in Ibiza this week, so he was setting up for going over to do that, um, and then we kind of touched on. He just asked the question outright, like, "Do you think I'll be world champion?" I said, "I do." I said, "I think 1,000,000%. I still do." But if you would the same to me tomorrow, I want to retire, I would also support that completely. I'd be very, very content with retirement, and because I think he's achieved so much in his career, both amateur and professional, that he can walk away and be comfortable for the remainder of his life. So, but his goal is to become world champion. And I'd said, "Is your goal to become world champion? Is your goal to be like money oriented?" And he says, "To become world champion." So that's the goal hasn't changed, and the focus hasn't changed, and it's just about how we get back to the pinnacle of the sport and back into the big fights. And we have dates booked here for Belfast about later in the year, and that's kind of what we're focusing on now. Let him go away, let him do the marathon, let him promote the beer, let him do everything, take his mind off boxing. And then in the next month in July, we're going to all sit down and kind of debrief and say, right, here is our route, here is XYZ, and kind of focus on that going forward.
How difficult is it for you as a brother watching obviously Michael go through what he went through? Because you've obviously been through, the fights yourself kind of thing. You know how it feels. And to see that happen to him, you always talked about being overprotective or protective over Michael. Is one thought in your mind is you wouldn't mind seeing him retire just because boxing's a brutal game and you don't ever want to see that happen to anyone, especially when it's your brother. Would you'd be completely comfortable if he said, you know what, I've done what I can do. I've had a good career. I've achieved a lot of things. He's achieved a hell of a lot of things in the amateurs, by the way, which probably don't get spoken about enough. Because he's had the unique nights, the atmosphere. Do you sometimes look and think, after the fight, I wouldn't be completely disheartened if he did decide to call it a day?
Yeah, no, that's my first thought always. I would be happy if he just kind of sailed off into the sunset. And he's got various different businesses. He's got plenty of properties, loads of different things he can go into now from here on out. And that was always when I started taking over management stuff, is kind of invest in the future, start to get things in the future. And he's got one of them heads on him that he's always thinking in advance. But yeah, I would have been. But again, it's down to him. I knew when I retired, I was retired because I was never going to be world champion. And I knew deep down inside I was going to be world champion. So why would I keep doing it? But for him, he realizes and knows that he is going to be world champion, can be world champion, has the ability and has everything to do it. So you don't think, yeah, he could retire now, but maybe in a year's time he would kick himself about it, or 6 months' time he would kick himself about it. So, and it took a week, not even, for him to go, right, this is what we want to do. Let's look at these dates. Can you get me a date in this time of year?
What is the route though? So when you look at this division now, it looks like Leigh Wood and Josh Warrington, by all accounts, is pretty much done. I would say they're just trying to nail down the venue. So if them two fight, there was talk of them two fighting, and then the belt having to become vacated because I believe is it Kolmatov is mandatory, and he's going to be a big problem for everyone, no matter how anyone wants to slice it and dice it, kind of thing. You've got Ray Vargas, WBC, Robesi Ramirez, WBO. You seen a possible route back? Obviously, Mick needs a fight probably before he starts looking maybe at those, but there's Jazza kicking about wanting a fight, kind of thing. What's your thoughts?
The division is stacked. The division is stacked. It's stacked with so many world class fighters that one win can get you back. There's different ways to do it. You go and have 2 or 3 fights, and then you come back with a big fight or an eliminator. You push yourself in. You play the rankings game, or you can just take a big name and jump straight back in. And if you win there, then you're kind of going to be in the position in line to fight the winner of Wood or Warrington, Rabisi, any of the kind of different stuff. So it's just about picturing which route is the most adequate route, and the route that is going to be the most doable. Promotional divides, etc. So that's what we're going to sit down and debrief. But I don't think he's overly far away, especially with the fighters that you have here in Britain. There's plenty of fighters you can do. Your Jordan Gills, Jazza Dickens, Isaac Dogbays, loads of fights there that is world level that can push you back into contention for world championships. And as you said, it is a hot division. Everyone wants to fight each other, and we're in this new climate where it is more acceptable for the big fights to happen. And it's one thing Mick has never shied away from is the big fights.
So are we talking December time, maybe back end of the year?
Yeah. We've dates booked in November and December.
Brilliant. Let's talk about another show. I know you spoke to me the other day, sort of something your voice not talking about. You're trying to get a fight on in Belfast. Is it August time, I believe?
Yeah, we should be announcing tomorrow or Thursday.
Pody?
Pody McCrory is one of the names. Yeah, definitely Pody McCrory, and he deserves a big night. He's been riding the crest of a wave the past few years. However, started to kind of stall a bit this year, and started to the level of opponent has come down a bit. His position on the card has come down a bit, and it's a bit unfair to him because he is such a big draw here in the city. It's about time now that he gets his big night, and Pody, Sean McComb, and a few others will get out in August, and then we've got another date planned late September, which we're working on at the minute. Tyrone McKenna in a big fight, and most likely will be in Dublin. So we're looking at a date in Dublin as well.
There's talks of that one of the dates been at Fele Park. Is that it? Is that correct?
Falls Park, yeah, Falls Park, yeah.
Yeah,
massive. We've done it twice with Mick. I think we've done 12,000, and I think the second one due to COVID was restricted to, I think, about 7.5, 8. But I don't know the true number that we got in. But yeah, massive nights, massive for the community. They're massive. It's a massive festival we have here. It's a festival for the community. It's a Feel Football Festival. And it's something that it's close to all of us. Pody, Michael, Sean McComb, Tyrone, all the guys from West Belfast. It's big for them. And boxing started a good few years ago, but it died off, and we brought it back with Mick and Diego Ruiz, and it was massive. It was magical, and it's something that's been talked about in the city. And usually this festival is more arts, more music, and a lot of kind of political talks and stuff like that. But it's boxing now seems to have its real kind of foothold on the festival, and the people of the community just want boxing attached to it. And we were unable last year due to Brexit demands and cost of the materials to kind of build it. But we're working towards that this year. We're not confirming on it yet, but we're working towards that. And Pody, I think, is the perfect man to lead the way for such an event.
Who we're going to be looking to be his opponent? Because I know Pody was, I think he looked a bit frustrated after his last performance. But I know he'll be wanting a big fight. He was clamouring, I think, for the winner of Belanga and Quigley. I think when I spoke to him, and he says, "Look, any of them two, anyone, let's get a big fight," kind of thing. You got someone in mind, someone that will be able to get him. I mean, the atmosphere itself in that place will probably do it for him. But have you got?
Yeah. Well, we've done a deal. We've done a deal with an English fighter, and I think we'll announce tomorrow. I think it's probably better I'd announce tomorrow. But yeah, we've done a deal. 18-1 English fighter. Very, very good fighter, fought on Sky. And I think it's a real test for Pody. Big test, a lot tougher than his last two, which I think he's underperformed due to the fact that lack of respect maybe for the opponents. And as you said, he's been in touch with, touching distance for Berlanga. And then we were doing a WBA final eliminator with Falcao before he got the fight with Dave Morrell. Stuff like that was what he was training in preparation for. And then he's been underwhelmed with the opponents that have been put in front of him. But this is a test, a legit test. And as we spoke about pressures of carrying a show, something that he's gonna feel that's not he's felt before. So it's a big fight. I think it's a real test, a real good trade fight in the UK boxing scene as well. It's a fight that will test him both mentally and physically, and against the fighter who's coming in with no fear of Pody.
Brilliant. Let's talk about this new signing as well. Your first female signing to Conlan Boxing, Georgia O'Connor. You must be delighted. A terrific young fighter who will be looking to make a big stamp in boxing. And like I said, it's your first female fighter as well. You must be delighted.
I was over the moon. Sam Jones had approached me a while ago about it and said, "You want to work together with George O'Connor?" And I immediately just said yes, and I didn't even ask him what context yet. I just said yes. I'd watched her on Sky. Her amateur career, highly decorated, unbelievable talent. Hasn't really got the chance to prove to kind of get a showcase and really get activity and kind of have a run in the form. So given that opportunity is what we're going to do. She will come to Belfast in August, most likely again September in Dublin. And then if Mick comes back, we'll come again November, December. It's a fantastic year. We'll get her 3 fights here over here. Her grandfather is from Leitrim. So touching into the Irish fan base is perfect. But I think she's a proper diamond in the rough that she can become a superstar. And when I spoke to Sam about it, I said it can move very, very quickly. A great division. As you've seen with the women's boxing, they can go up and down the divisions a lot easier than the men. And I think her talent can really transcend, and she's got exceptional abilities, great boxing distance understanding. So, yeah, very, very excited.
Will you be looking to add to your stable? I think I asked you that before, and you were always like, "Look, we've got quite a manageable sort of group in terms of who you look after." And I know you won't sort of overcommit to so many fighters that you can't put your all into. But are you always on the lookout for people to add to your stable?
No, not necessarily. No, I'm not. But recently, the people who have been contacting, I think it's more hard to turn them down. We'll add 1 or 2 more in the next week or two, but it's been like that. I'm always kind of watching the next talent coming through, and I'm a boxing fan. Like I kind of study boxing religiously. It's not a job. It's just I love it. So watching different fighters, watching different styles, watching prospects and how they handle different opponents is something I always kind of take in, especially when you watch a card. I like watching the card from the first fight onwards to see the progression of fighters. But recently, different fighters have contacted, and I think we are going to start saying a bit more. Yeah.
How do you switch off? Because now you're doing this promotional role. Do you ever get like a day where you can just knock everything off, like whether it be with the family or whatever, and just say like completely switch off from it? Because it must be non-stop with people ringing your phone or trying to make things happen. I know you had a busy day the other day that went on into the evening kind of thing. And does it ever stop?
No, it doesn't. But I think anyone in boxing is the same. And when you listen to people and you talk to anyone else, it's not a 9 to 5 job. You get a call at 11 o'clock at night, you answer it. And you're texting or you're answering emails when you're in bed, and you just you do have to set some time aside where you're doing other things, and we have a few other things that we work on, so it helps to kind of distract from it. And then, usually I used to get up in the morning and answer stuff when I'm in bed. As soon as my eyes open, kids usually wake you up about 6:30, and as soon as your eyes open, I would be answering emails from the night before or anything like that. But I've stopped that now and kind of give myself a start time and so on and so forth. And only if it's really important, I'll get on it late at night as well. But dealing with Top Rank, a lot of stuff we do with Top Rank and ESPN, it's usually like at midnight calls and stuff like that. So yeah.
Sort of last one from me. Sort of I've done this sort of the wrong way around here, but Leigh Wood, Josh Warrington. Can I just get your thoughts on that fight? Obviously, Josh is coming off the back of the loss to Lopez. Leigh Wood's coming off the back of a great win over Lara, who obviously there was an issue with his weight in the second fight, but he went out there and did what he had to do, knocked him down, and terrific points victory. What do you think of that fight stylistically? And
fantastic. I think it's a fantastic fight. I think both camps will be confident going in, which makes it even better. It's hard to look past Leigh at this moment in time. He's really got confidence behind him, and his team, I think, got it bang on with Lara, especially the second time. When you listen to them in the corner and Lee Whaley, the instructions in terms of not trying to commit and stuff. How they approach Warrington will be a completely different fight. I think he'll want to go for it a bit more. He won't respect the power of Warrington as much as he did with Lara. And again, Warrington was always here and Wood was here, I presume, in their coming through the scene. So he's always going to be looking down a bit on Leigh Wood. He fought a stalemate Reese Mould. He probably was comparing to that level and he was above it. So he's going to have some kind of superiority complex in his head that he's not going to let him. He has no right to be in the ring with me, basically, because it was always what he was stating.
Yeah.
But it's a fantastic fight. I think Sean, Josh's dad, they have a game plan, and he's had it for years that he thinks that how they could beat Leigh, and I would say Ben and Leigh and all are very confident on beating Josh, especially at this stage of his career. So it's a fantastic fight. It's a very hard one to pick, and you can make a case for either man, but it would be hard to go against Wood at this stage because of the confidence that he has behind him. And especially if it's in Nottingham, it's a big factor if it goes to Nottingham, because they add an extra, they do add an extra element to his game. He feeds off the crowd in a very positive way, and must give him credit. His power is legit, and regardless.
I was going to ask you about the crowd, because obviously we saw how much of an effect it does have on Leigh, but Josh is no stranger to a big crowd. So do you think it'll sort of, the noise will just help both, and that'll make it an even better fight, kind of thing? They'll throw more caution to the wind.
I don't know the situation regarding the venue. I think it'd be hard to get the city ground, but it would be just right to get the city ground. But coming into the football season, I don't know where it lies regarding the ground. Manchester would be also a great spot for it if you split the arena in half, the way Matchroom had done when Mick Wood fought, because you get that like a football-esque atmosphere. You really get a hostile atmosphere when you split it down the middle. And I think both of them would do 10,000 easy in Manchester. Warrington, I think, again, like Leigh, relies on a crowd to give him an extra bit of oomph. When he didn't have it against Lara the first time, it was like he was deflated, like a deflated tire. So it would be something that will play a big factor. Again, the big fan base that they have, they're football-oriented fan base, so I think the away day element of Josh's Leeds support will add, will make them come in their droves. So yeah, it's a fantastic fight. Fantastic for British boxing to have, two massive ticket sellers as well, two massive fan bases coming together as one for a big fight. And you look in that featherweight division, there is a few of them. You throw Michael in that. Like you can't say in much other divisions that there is fighters with big fan bases and quality come to the table.
Yeah, it really is. I think someone said, I think I saw it in an article, it really is a shark tank of a division. When you look
Yeah.
at the champions that you have, who's waiting in the wings and who wants to get themselves in contention. There is no easy road to anything in this division. There is you'll get out of it kind of thing. What you get out of it. There's no easy route, but it's makes for good fun.
You look at Jazza Dickens, even, Jazza had accepted the fate with Warrington, but that's a tough ask. It's a real tough fate. And if you beat him, it would be you beat Jazza Dickens, but it would be disregarded, and it'd be disregarded in one way. But that's a real tough night, and if you beat Jazza, it will be hard fate. It will be a really hard fate for Josh, and hence why I would presume that they avoided it in the end. But that's another guy on the fringes, which is like a gatekeeper into bigger fights, which is it's a real tough night, and that's only in Britain.
Could him and Mick potentially dance later on in the year?
I don't see any real issue with it. Both of them will need to kind of get into the upper echelons, and to do that they must beat each other probably. And you look at Jazza, you look at Dogbay, there's loads of different other fighters, even further down the pecking order, Isaac Lowe and Jordan Gill, which also bring great fights to the table, all talking, and this is all in the one country, and you're working the one scene kind of thing, so you've got plenty to work for. All of them can get back to contention, and it's what I like about the division as well. None of them are perfect records. All of them are overcoming losses and coming back and jumping straight back into big fights, and that's what you want.
100%. Well, look, Jamie, I appreciate you giving us so much of your time. We've had quite a big run through there, and we look forward to seeing some shows get announced in Belfast, Dublin, and back in Ireland, because the atmospheres they're unrivaled, really, and it's nice to see Ireland getting that back kind of thing.
Yeah, no, it is indeed, and hopefully Katie and Chantel run it back as well in November, and we need them here. It's too and far between for the big nights.
Absolutely. Completely agree with you. But Jamie, appreciate you talking to Boxing Social. We'll have a catch up when there's further confirmation on obviously Michael's future and obviously Conlan Boxing and other announcements, which I'm sure you've got in store. So I appreciate your time, bud.
Cheers, Matt. Thanks for everything.